Hey everyone, hey and welcome back to yet another episode of Battle Rap Resume. Shout out to everyone listening on the live stream as well. Keep the questions coming and we'll get into that. Today we are doing a recap of Premier Battles event that just went down yesterday, the final event for them of 2018. Definitely the biggest UK battle rap event of the year. This was the Allstar Game. Went down Saturday the 1st of December in Manchester, Ruby Lounge. Today I'm going to look back on the event, recap the battles as I saw them. I should say, two of my reactions to these battles in my judging decisions, people turned on me. People that I was speaking to at an event vehemently disagreed. Major and Ilmac and Soul as well. Actually, I had Soul there for Ilmac. But we'll get to these battles as well. And maybe I'll feel a different way when I watch them back, which you could have the opportunity to at the time I was recording this in about an hour or so, but it'll certainly be out by the time this drops. The Premier Battles pay-per-view. So that'll have all the battles that we saw yesterday, all four battles. And I know necessarily that is an outstanding amount of battles. Unfortunately, there were cancellations, beyond the ken of Bloodstro and Shotty and Briggsy and everyone else. So, but still, I think these are, huge quality battles. Like, kind of similar to that recent event, with J Mills and K-Shot. I know that was a bit of a dud, but I think altogether as well, like a kind of, a package of the four battles, if you will. So, yeah, today I'm going to look back. As always, get at me at BattleRapResume, battleresume@gmail.com if you want to get in touch with the show, if you want to help support the show as well. You can give to us on Patreon, basically on there soon, in a few days from me uploading this. Me and Nathan recorded tons of interviews outside after the event. Those will all go on there first. What do we have? I spoke to Bowski, spoke to Dialect, Elesteen, Champ Elesteen drinking from his trophy, spoke to Ilmac, Loso, Caustic, got some great conversations there. So yeah, they'll be on the channel soon as well. Please subscribe. iTunes is there if you want to support. So yeah, this was the All-Star Game. Got there about maybe half 12 or something like that. It was drizzly in Manchester. I was familiar with Manchester, but I hadn't been to Ruby Lounge before myself. This is very much the sort of, home ground for Premier Battles, kind of like, the ground zero for where this all came together. Match day 1 was there. And I'm going to say like 3 and 4 maybe as well. Like, I could be wrong there, but there's certainly a hell of a lot of them. It was my first time going into this place. For people who haven't been, it's kind of a club downstairs. Got a huge area, huge concert area. So it's kind of as you enter the stages, to your right and then to your left is a large open plan bar, and sort of near that are lots of quarters as well that don't really make sense, in the sense of a battle rap event. And it wasn't sold out. I don't know what the exact tallies were. I know that there was like 40, 60 tickets or something like that, that were kind of left for the door or whatever, and the early birds had gone, and they had sold a lot amount, but it hadn't sold out. It hadn't been like a match day 1 or whatever like that. But I think regardless, it was a brilliant crowd to be part of, like, just from being at the Summer Madness crowd as well, and an environment where you have a very reactive, attentive crowd, where you don't see, maybe harking back to Elesteen versus DARPA, there was a disconnect, I felt, I should say, between the sort of overhyping of Team Talks and then the kind of, deadness of the crowd. But here, that didn't really happen. To be honest, everyone on the crowd, they were reacting heavily, no doubt, but the whole vibe, the whole atmosphere, the whole sense of community, this kind of ending celebration of the All-Star Game. And I think deep down, I don't know if anyone else felt this, but regardless of the cancellations, I knew that Ilmac was there. I knew that Soul was there. I knew that I was going to see this battle. And that's not to downplay anything that I saw earlier on in the day as well. But, that was a good promise. So, yeah, got to the venue. Great to chat to people as always. Chopped up with Martin and the grime rap critic and later Eddie as well. And yeah, there was a big queue formed. Like, it was impressive. And, it was fairly deep as well. So then we got into the venue, and I think there was about, I don't know, I would say like half an hour to 45 minutes of just hanging around, chatting. Spoke to Crafty there and Tom as well. All these guys. I don't want to do this endless name check or whatever, but so we were just waiting for the battles, really waiting for it to commence. And then we got into Elesteen versus Major Concerns. This was definitely one of those battles that I was looking forward to most. These are the sort of up and coming clashes that are always exciting to see, and especially having the sort of academy narrative framework, to kind of propel this, and the talents of the two guys as well. Obviously had the two guys on for the preview a little while ago of this clash, which is really interesting now to go and look back. But similar to like, when I remember when I got like the Sunburn 2 pay-per-view, like I was saying to Crafty yesterday, like when I picked up the Sunburn 2 pay-per-view, the first thing I wanted to watch was Kraft versus Jay Short. Because I just, I kind of seen the lineage there, appreciated both guys. Okay, Jay was a bit more established in that round, but, still, went to this battle, wanting Major to win, and I felt like a lot of people wanted Major to win for a number of reasons. I mean, it was a bit more of a, natural storyline there. Ellis Dean was slightly more familiar, I suppose. But, I have to say this battle was absolutely outstanding, from both of the guys. And what was great to see is that they both flipped, like, a lot and successfully. And that really injects some energy into it. Not that it needed it, but yeah, I think they both faced off really well. Dean took the victory, all in all, and I think he himself has says that he feels that Major like lost 2-1, which is a really sweet thing to say, but accurate as well. It's a very close battle, and I think it will be debated. But for me personally, and maybe it's not even that I'm more of a fan of Major's style, but for me he was more consistent. I think he hit more nails on heads. I think his performance, a lot of people were saying like he would look down after his bars or whatever. He had a kind of guarded thing to him. But for me as a fan, like I like the writing. I like to see where people go with the attack. He had lots of great stuff. The whole think you're cold, Dean, you are what you eat, going with that SoundCloud Percocet aesthetic and attacking it well, and Dean fighting back well, talking about Major with his Twitch account and stuff like that. And we know these guys are close. Dean had actually said to me at the bar beforehand that he felt that some of his bars are going to be appreciated on cam more, and he does come with local references as well. I think he referenced Rush Home in his third, but I mean more in his first when he referenced Joy Division. Love Will Tear Us Apart was a really nice play, and yeah, this was a great battle. This was a really, really fucking fun battle, and I think people weren't necessarily surprised, but it was such a great symptom of the Academy process as a whole that the end battle was fucking brilliant. And Dean in many ways was a worthy winner. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I think what he said about the 2-1 victory was correct, and I think his third was outstanding. The whole, if I win, I'm going on a fortnight binge. If you win, you're buying every fortnight skin. And he brought his dad to the battle to watch your. He brought your dad to watch your first battle. My dad didn't see my first steps. And Dean has this register, this attack that he can go into, that he can evolve into when he becomes more musical. The rhythms are a bit more intense. A lot of people were criticising Major perhaps for having that more monotone idea there. This was a fucking great battle. This was a really enjoyable. Afterwards as well, it was announced that O'Shea wasn't going down. His battle, which had been teased, him versus question mark, the guys had said is that it's going to be a UK debut, so that ruled out so many people early on. Some people were thinking like Carter Deems, maybe Head Ice. Some people were going a bit more left field with the comedian angle. I think Mo Gilligan was mentioned. Shout out the Danny Jack collab. And there were some other ones as well. Adam Rowe, I think, the comic, and various others. Robbie Williams was one. Because everyone was talking about it. Everyone was asking me because they seemed to think that I'd I'd be able to spill the beans. And I wish I knew, but I didn't know. But it was revealed at the event. So basically, the guy who, let me just correctly pronounce who this guy is, because I'm a big fan of his podcast actually. So this is Gadget from This Is England and the TV show as well. And Thomas Turgoose, he does a podcast with, is also, of course, from This Is England, and an incredible actor. So, yeah, they do this podcast, Overrate Everything, where each week they sort of sit down with different guests to discuss an overrated subject. And they've had none other than Bison Briggs on the show, which is so fucking cool. I think it was like the second or third episode. I think Stephen Graham was actually on it after. And they've had, like, Georgia May Foote and people like that. Like, I need to listen to them all, but, yeah, they're fucking good. So, anyway, it was revealed that he is going to battle O'Shea as part of some, like, TV project or something like that. And I don't know whether, I think they kind of sort of suggested towards this wasn't the plan. It wasn't like they were sort of saying this to sort of spring us on it at this event, like, maybe the battle was going to happen. I'm not really sure what happened there. But, O'Shea, yet again, is rightfully chosen as, a person to go forward with. He had that sort of Cashmore Nuts association as well. He's had this sort of, I think he was on BBC Three and stuff like that. And, Osha's been there. So, yeah, that would be really cool to see. Again, disappointing, deflating to a certain extent. I think it would have been cool to throw the Osh battle in here, but it just couldn't be helped. And I think Bloodstro said on Facebook or something recently, and they mentioned this event as well, that, the event had almost been cancelled. A big sponsor had pulled out, I think, on the Wednesday or something like that. And, they really had to try and make this work. So for what it was, as a thing, again, it's not a cancellation in of itself. It's just kind of a postponement to a higher state. I don't know. So the next battle we got into was Dialect versus Loso. I mean, it's kind of fortuitous, really. I think Loso's URL PG debut against Scotty in Scotty's own hometown came out like 2 days ago or something like that. Like, I actually mentioned this when I spoke to him in the little interview outside, which was so cool to speak to the guy. Obviously, a giant fan of this guy. And he's going to come on the podcast as well, which should be good. But in terms of the battle, let's talk about the battle. So, Dialect came with those kind of broad religious angles that worked well, absolutely. Dialect has this sort of style that really, I don't know, when I watch Dialect, I'm in such anticipation, of sort of something explosive, something incendiary. And I think, more often than not, it really fucking happens. Malted into Mr. Potato and an aggressive line about there being nothing prohibiting guns and, in the Bible that didn't exist or something like that. Forgive me, my notes are a bit of a scramble. But, yeah, lots of reaction for a lot of good stuff here, and mentions of Salem witch trial. And Loso, just had that professionalism. He really commanded attention on that stage. And whilst arguably, I think early on, his stuff wasn't as hardly connecting. Just, it was more of a sense of awe of seeing this guy project and perform, etc. But I think later, as it went on, I think just the sophistication, his persistence, his creativity, it really won out there. Dialect, unfortunately, had a bit of a choke in the third. I know that it's been said as well online that unfortunately he's going through some troubles, and I completely such respect, as Shotty was saying as well, for him going through and performing on the battle. And it's still, nonetheless, that's not to say that Dialect's third wasn't fucking crazy, to be honest with you. And it was an unfortunate choke, the phone out and stuff, but the crowd were shouting to encourage, and he really genuinely seemed angry with himself there. But he got it back with a Dawn French bar. For anything a little bitch funny, got me thinking he's Dawn French. And Dialect had some really hard shit in the third, Mount Sinai stalking bars, comparing to a San Andreas Cholo, I think, looking, he said. Something about Desert Eagles, giving 2 Desert Eagles, he'd take them on the ark with him, or, and Loso, came quite precise as well, which I liked. Such a horrible malady of international battlers is that they kind of half-arse it. They get onto English holiday flow, and that comes up so much in international battles, doesn't it? But it is true. It's a common thing here. But Loso did not suffer that at all. Loso was consummate, from hearing interviews with this guy. The original Ruin Your Day thing, Frack and Laffenstalks thing, Battle Topics, he was on that. I remember being really impressed with him as a person, and getting into his battles from there. The Bad News battle is absolutely astonishing, and the Scotty battle. And this one as well, I think, this is another one that you can chalk up as something vintage, something people will really appreciate. And he came really close, and, the idea of Summer Madness and why was it Gem and Soul, and kind of probing that idea, and some obscure stuff as well. I think he referenced Oprah Winfrey's own channel, OW, I think it's Oprah's Women's Network or something like that. So yeah, that kind of got slept on, but I appreciate that, Loso. I appreciate that. Yeah, this is a really good battle. So yeah, Rivers and Cannon. Obviously, we knew this before the card had gone off. The league had publicly said that this was going to be going down on a future match day soon, hopefully, and I think that is going to happen. So I messaged Rivers, this was about 2 weeks ago or something like that. I wanted to do some sort of little face-offs for the All-Star Game, which didn't really have time to do it, but yeah, the one that I wanted to get on was Rivers versus Cannon. So I did reach out to Rivers and Cannon. Cannon didn't get back to me, but yeah, Rivers let me know that this was a day before it got announced on PB that unfortunately it wasn't going to go down then, but they are going to go do something further with it. So yeah, that didn't go down, and then the O'Shea didn't go down, and then it became a bit of a it became a bit of a an annoying thing for some people. Again, I had that Solly Mike trophy mentally, and I was just invigorated by Dialect Loso and LS Dean versus Major. So this, it's a great card, great card. But Mike P. Koj did not go down. So Mike P was there. again, incredible to see Mike P in person and to speak briefly to him. I know that he was talking to Deviant at the time, but yeah, it was good to see him anyway. Yeah, Kojey was just didn't show. So this was announced as a shock, really. I think they learnt this like an hour before or something, you know, kind of going back on the social media trail now and sort of seeing Shotty sort of saying that he's never going to hire Kojey again. And the Kojey thing is fucking heartbreaking, man. That is just so confusing and maddening, and I'm such a fucking giant Kojey fan, and this, I think, like everyone has been saying, like, this is one of the battles that they were really looking forward to. Most of the people in the comments, most people in the room as well, were saying this was going to be battle of the night. They really wanted to see what they could do. Yeah, who the fuck knows what happened? I don't know what happened. So from what I gather, he sort of left the text, and then an hour later shut down all social media, and, you know, I actually put out a tweet as well, and I sort of tagged him in it, but then someone said down below, I didn't even realise that the link was dead or wouldn't connect. So, you know, he's gone ghost at the moment, and what can you say as to that? But Mike P did perform some of his bars to the crowd. Of what he did was very good, but obviously that's kind of a weird proposition really for audience and performer, and a lot of people just went to the bar. You know, a lot of people really saw it as a sort of smoke break sort of thing. Shout out Briggsy. But yeah, so Mike did, I think, 2 rounds. Again, to good reaction on the front, but it was just, I think a lot of people were just a bit, rocked by it really, and a bit let down. And Briggsy basically announced it, I think, just after the Loso Dialect battle. I think it was just before the judging of that battle, so just in between that, which was very cool, by the way, the judging on all the battles. Pretty much everyone stayed back for that. Of course, they stayed back for Major versus LS Dean, but, you know, it's a nice element to it, and it definitely did add to the whole dramaturgy of the thing. So yeah, that didn't go down, and Mike P, again, it's so shit that a guy, for people who might not realise maybe about Kojey, he lives in Manchester, so he lives in the local area, so it's not, it's not really anything for him to get there, a car or a coach or whatever, it's very, very easy. So didn't turn up for whatever reason, but obviously Mike got a flight from New York, I believe. So yeah, it was disappointing, and it just happens. I remember when Swave Sever came, he went to battle Gemini at 8th birthday, but that didn't go down, which was interesting. Interesting match, that, definitely. But I remember Swave came, and I think Raw's was on the phone or something talking to Gemini, Swave overheard him or something like that, and was like, what? Swave didn't even know. So yeah, I remember seeing Swave sit sadly down, and then me and Swave and Ryan Morgan filmed an interview. That, again, Ryan, I don't know why you're holding these fucking 8th birthday interviews hostage, man. There were some fucking good interviews. And we spoke to Swave, and we spoke about him on Rogan and stuff like that. So, yeah, definitely shout to Swave. Hopefully that's coming out soon. So, Lease Caustic. Lease Caustic was next. All right, so Chris Lease Caustic, it was great that this was still going down. And, we both knew those guys were there from Darton. Lease was ready. Lease has been, absolutely exceptional through this whole tournament, and I'm just thinking really about Kojey's Battler of the Year as well, and they're not showing up to the fucking Allstar. Wow, Chris Lease wouldn't have done that, but it's great that Chris Lease is being rewarded, justly here. So, him versus Caustic, which, it sort of made sense on a sort of maximal, attributes, sort of why they're both offensive, whatever, but they both sort of pissed each other off, which was cool to see. They definitely got under each other's skin. I think Lease more on Caustic. Chris sort of guarded himself against the obvious Caustic offences, Chris talking about the kids that he fucked, and, I think, Caustic resurrecting his son and fucking it in front of him and stuff like that, and buried more kids than Ian Brady, and he really came on that that kind of tip there. But Caustic was struggling to get a reaction, and it was kind of fun as well, I should say, in Chris's first, that he employed a prop, and I think he did it very well. He grabbed the stool, and he just kind of called Caustic's name in this, this kind of cacophonous crow-like core, and it was very funny, and he got closer and closer, and he built really tension with this. He sort of put the chair back and then grabbed it, and then, the audience were with him absolutely all the way. He was really good. Caustic, I don't know, I think his material was a little more scattershot. It wasn't as, like I said to him afterwards as well, in the interview where we discussed his Smash main, among other things. I said I felt the Mr. 13 battle, which is a notorious robbery. Shout out Furtz, though. That's a really cool episode. It's going to come out soon. It's on the Patreon now. But I did say to Furtz, actually, he did ask me if I thought he won the battle, and I said, well, we did an episode called Top 10 Don't Flop Robberies, and yeah, we spoke about you probably the most on there. So yeah, thirds to Misfort and Caustic. But yeah, I don't know. I need to go back and watch this one, of course. Like with all these fucking battles, I could change my view on a second watch and definitely go support the pay-per-view as well. That's not to say that, you know, of course it didn't have some strong stuff, but I think Lise just sort of, you know, played on him well, and you know, was a bit more of an assassin. The Listen to Me K voice. It was quite cool, Lise using the stool as well at the start of his second. And of course, they gained some big bars off as well. That doesn't get off without a toy in a box, like a Happy Meal. I think one was his absolutely brilliant lines as well. And, you know, again, it was a treat to see fucking Caustic. This guy's an absolute legend. And, you know, sometimes he didn't really... and Chris as well. I think a few people haven't really loved this battle, who were there that I spoke to and stuff like that. Some people weren't really a fan of Lisa's sort of I fuck my kids, which I just, you know, I did say what I just said. I said, like, it's kind of it's a defense of those sort of tactics, I suppose, as an adoption of your enemy's stratagem. But yeah, this was another you know, decent battle. A decent battle. I wouldn't say it was like necessarily one of the most outstanding ones on the card. Of course, the next battle we're going to get to was certainly the most outstanding on the card. But yeah, that was Chris Lee's Caustic. All right, so the final battle that we get to, the one that really was worth it, the fucking jewel in the crown, the battle that's everyone has wanted to see since day dot, that has been on all those sort of fantasy cards you've put together. If you're into this certain type of battle rap, you know, this kind of absolutely, you know, mind-shatteringly fucking good from both of these guys, you know, throughout the clash. It really lived up to it, I should say. I mean, we'll get Soul on the that's hard to say. I will get Soul on the show soon to basically, we discussed this just before we went on stage actually, but to recap this battle, you know, and to go back as well on the gem battle, of course, as well, and everything else that's happened. So we are going to sort of go through bar for bar, but just to give you a quick sort of, you know, my own opinion after seeing it yesterday, like, I definitely felt that it absolutely lived up on both sides. You know, it was a judge battle as well. Ilmac took the decision. It was by a hair. Outside, I did say Soul was winning, and this is where the crowd, as I mentioned before with the major concerns LSD, and this is one of my dubious decisions in the hoi polloi eyes. They definitely didn't agree with me there, but regardless, I'm not sort of going to die on that hill. Like, that was just something very much that I, you know, thought in the moment, but I'll have to go back and watch. I think they were both absolutely outstanding. I think Ilmac came with a supreme fucking angle in the second. So, you know, one of Soul's most celebrated phases is his Raptor phase, which he actually quotes, I believe, in the third. He talks about, you know, people want the Raptor Soul. They want the no Geneva policies, and he sort of played that up, and then he got into his own rhythm, and he got into new stuff based on that kind of, you know, similar kind of archetype that he employs there. And he was fucking ridiculous in that moment as well. So he was kind of evoking the Great Soul, which I guess is the Raptor Soul. I mean, I'm being a purist. It's the Matter Soul, the first Matter Soul. But no, you know, take your pick, really. You know, Soul is such a commanding presence. The real deal as well. He was absolutely out of this world, and he was out of this world in this battle as well. So yeah, there is this Raptor idea of Soul, and obviously the most famous thing from that battle is, you know, the rounds you've forgotten sort of idea, which is so good. And Ilmac played it into a, you know, this is a very battle rap way of doing it, you know, kind of illogically logical, going into if Soul was an aircraft controller, and like, you know, oh, you know, you forgot 27 of my non-crashes despite the crash that I did. And I thought that was really, really funny. And, you know, it really, really works as well. The one plane you forgot and stuff like that. Soul was really cracking up at that. And that just showed this battle. Like, you know, it was a dream for both these guys to go down, and the crowd in attendance as well. I suppose it's not even a critique of the battle, it's just kind of how I judge it going in terms of, like, you know, who actually won on certain rounds. Ilmac's first, I think it was, where he sort of clowned on the Soul name as well, which was good. I think he started on that, like, you know, his name's Soul, but look at him, sort of thing, that sort of, those tactics. And yeah, he sort of invoked old sort of Soul masters as well in his bars, and, you know, it really were huge flourishes for both of them. I felt there were certain angles that they should have went for that would have been a bit more readily available perhaps, but still, I think they both displayed who they are. I think they're two of the greatest. I think no one comes out as a loser on this battle. It's not like I mean, you know, it's not like a Tony D battle, for example, where I'm not saying, you know, whatever his legacy's tarnished or anything like that. Of course not. But, like, still, it's kind of what you want to see as a fan, you know. It's what you expect of these guys. And I think it was everything and more. And this is going to be the one that I think people are going to talk about forever. And one of the things that I really liked that was really groundbreaking in this battle, and again it is a cool move by Soul that obviously Ilmac flips, is Soul acknowledges that the battle's going to be viewed on Ruin Your Day and sort of looks to the camera. And obviously this creates this sort of dialectic where you're thinking already in the future of them getting to this moment that they probably already are aware of, the people in the chat as well. So it's kind of, wave to the future, but still it's really, really cool, really, really meta, really 4-4 breaking. I really enjoyed that. And obviously, as I said, Ilmac sort of, flips that idea as well. And this is based off the fact that I think Soul is the most viewed person on Ruin Your Day, which obviously makes sense. He's the fucking greatest, and his writing's the greatest, and his performance. And yeah, I'm a fucking fanboy, but it wasn't even necessarily that I give him the win, but maybe it is. Maybe there's some subconscious bias there. But again, I want to stress this was a fucking, superb fucking battle from both of them. And, a fitting end to Premier Battles. This has been the All-Star Game. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone that I saw at the event, and the guys as well, Shotty, Briggsy, Bloodstro, everyone else for organising and, filming and whatever, and all the battlers as well. And it was great to see everyone. And, support the show at Battle Rap Resume. Support Premier Battles. Subscribe to the network, all their socials as well. Had quite a funny exchange, actually, outside with this guy. And we were just talking or whatever, and then he was like, "Oh yeah, you're Tom Quee, aren't you?" I was like, "Yeah," and he was like, "Oh yeah, ignore what they say on the Koj Raptor vid," and I was like, "What do they say? What do they say on the Koj Raptor vid?" And he was like, "Oh, don't worry about it, man. It's fine, it's fine." So obviously the Koj Raptor vid, the controversial battle that got uploaded and then I think taken down quickly afterwards, just to give people a flavour of what it is. I don't really know the story there. So obviously there must have been some disparaging comments on my commentary, which I appreciate. Again, it's an acquired taste. It's something different I'm doing over there, I suppose. It's, I think Will Ross summed it up best, where he said it was sort of like the Marks and Spencer's adverts. It's not just food, it's M&S. Which is very, I like, don't take this stuff too seriously, man. This was, that was really funny as well. So yeah, support Premier Battles. The pay-per-view link I'll leave down below as well. Obviously, you can find it on their socials. Go subscribe to the network. Support the show as well. If you enjoy Battle Rap Resume, at Battle Rap Resume on Twitter. It's basically where I put all the updates and news and, episodes that I'm doing, questions and stuff like that. Patreon, patreon.com/Battle Rap Resume. If you want to give back to the show, the interviews, everything else that I do on the show goes on there first. You can also get access to a RSS feed, a link to give you sort of an additional podcast where I put all the sort of Patreon stuff. So yeah, if you want to get access to that and everything else, patreon.com/Battle Rap Resume. Please leave a review as well. Big shouts out to Premier Battles as well. Thank you for putting on some incredible events. It's been a pleasure to attend this year. I look forward to season 2 and everything else they have planned. Support the pay-per-view. Again, shout out to all the battles: Soul versus Ilmac, Chris Lees versus Caustic. Then we also had Loso Dialect and LS Dean versus Major Concerns. We'll be back soon, recording more fucking episodes. As always, I've got some cool guests in the pipeline. Hoping to get Sprungy on soon. So yeah, Sprungy should be a good episode. This has been Tom. Oh, we got a Mastermind. We got a new Mastermind at Reading that we filmed as well. That'll be out soon. That's very cool. Ben is just going to do his wondrous editing magic on that, and that'll be out on the Don't Flop channel soonish. But yeah, as always, thanks again, guys. Bye.